here's the sitch. Got a wig for Halloween, couldn't really use it, so I thought I'd get dressed up on my own time, bake some cookies, and talk about games. So today I'm gonna be making my critically acclaimed chocolate chip cookies. And by critic, I mean me. I acclaimed it. I think it's a really good cookie recipe. And the secret ingredient is none other than instant pudding powder. But other than that, the ingredients are pretty classic. Flour, sugar, butter, eggs, vanilla extract, baking soda, and that's about all you need. Alright, let's get started. I will put the exact recipe down in the descriptions below if anyone's interested. So while this is going on, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of the games that I've been playing recently. So I've been absolutely obsessed with this game called Hades. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler RPG where you play as like the son of Hades named Zagreus, and you're sort of having to like fight your way through the underworld because you want to escape to the gods up in Olympus because you hate your father and you want to escape his influences, and he thinks you're a disobedient child, and there's just a lot going on, but it's really good fighting and it's mythology. What more could you ask for? And I'm also probably just obsessed with Supergiant as a video game studio. All the games that they've made have been really fun so far. They're all on sale, so I ended up getting all of them. And Transistor has been really fun lately, so I'm hoping to get into that once midterm season is over. So yes, all my dry ingredients plus the pudding powder. This is very difficult to open. For what reason? Adding some salt to taste. Another game I find myself consistently going back to is probably Catherine Full Body. I mean, it was made by Atlas, creators of the Persona series, so I mean, it's a really, really good game. Like, story-rich, puzzle-rich, it has just like the right balance of exciting action-based puzzles that is fun even though it is repetitive, but also a really interesting story that sort of like keeps you hooked. And all the characters are just like really interesting, and it's just really cool to learn all their individual stories, even if they're not the main characters. So the premise of Catherine Full Body is you play as Vincent, this tortured soul who is in a steady relationship but is not ready for marriage. And what happens is that one day at a bar he meets this blonde bombshell and he ends up cheating on his girlfriend, but also begins a series of nightmares which come in this like puzzle, not endless climber as there is an end, but puzzle climber in which you have to essentially not die every night. And it seems that this has been happening to a lot of the men across this town wherever he lives in. And as you play out the game, you meet all these different characters at the bar as well as in your nightmare world, and you all try to get through it together and hopefully survive. So really fun. I also restarted oh my god, I can't open this. Oh my god. Is this so tight? No, I got this. But as I was so rudely interrupted by this vanilla bourbon extract, I restarted Breath of the Wild because I was so excited for Hyrule Warriors to come out. I've actually played the demo 3 times now, and I'm probably gonna play it 4 more times, just waiting for the end of November to roll around. It's unbelievable. How is it already such a good game? It's already my favorite game. So those have been my, I guess, October favorites. And I guess another game that I like to bring up that I wanted to dive a little deeper on, and it's kind of taken the world by storm. I don't know if you guys have heard the game Among Us. So personally, a huge fan of the game. The game studio is doing such a great job, being such like a small team, but as a UX designer, I like to talk shit. So let me give it a bit of a formal critique. So I'd like to sort of like preface this with like, I actually love the game, love what the team is doing. I wanted to start off with like the good. So, I mean, like, very low barrier to entry. You don't need to make an account. You just download it, start playing. And with the existence of both being able to play with your friends and have a private group or just join someone's room in a public space allows you to really just get started with the game super fast. The basic premise of the game is also relatively straightforward because, I mean, the concept of these, like, mafia-based games aren't new. But I guess this entire premise of placing it in a much more complex environment is, and I think that they did a super great job doing that. But on the other hand, there are some minor tweaks that I feel like they could make that would actually make the game a lot easier, especially for beginners. Because I feel like throughout the game, there's just not a lot of instructions. So there are a lot of things that could come off as super overwhelming, especially for new players. I mean, have you seen the interface of the room settings? It's just a huge list of like 20 items, all in white text. None of them are differentiated from one another. When I first saw that screen, I was seriously overwhelmed. I didn't even know what half of them meant. I feel like that could definitely be either categorized better or have some visuals that complement them so that it's way easier to understand what they all mean, because they are actually really important settings that affect the gameplay, but not when they're super stacked up like that and you can't differentiate one line from another. And sort of staying on the topic of the way they handle text, I think the text for tasks could also probably be designed just a little better. I guess they are a shorter list compared to the room settings, but I still think that there is room for them to either add some hierarchy. I'm not too sure about color, but maybe some kind of icon or visual that could help represent them a little better. Or even if they added something interactive to it in which when you clicked on it, it tells you where to go for that specific task. Because I think a lot of what we have trouble with is finding out where you're supposed to do certain tasks. And I think maybe making your taskbar interactive could be a good way to solve that issue. Then moving on to controls, I think that they did the buttons for this game really, really well. The fact that they're grayed out when you can't do anything, but when you are near a place where you can take action, the item very clearly lights up for you to click it. I think that's super intuitive and just like a really easy way for you to get into the game as well, so you're not like misclicking or not knowing what to do. On the other hand, once again with the no instructions, you really aren't given any instructions as to where you can do certain things. I guess they do have the highlight for tasks that you're supposed to do, but sometimes for a new user, you just don't know where to go in order to take certain action. I also think that maybe they could handle the map just a little better. I think that if they even provided a mini map in the corner, that could really help players, because I mean the two options are either no map or map takes up entire screen and you cannot take any action. I think that you could offer some kind of in-between that helps players see where they're going but also take action if need be. And next, I guess, is the experience for the discussion time. So discussion time is the one time in which you are actually able to interact with and talk to your crewmates. But the problem is the game only has a native chat and there is no audio or voice call option, which means that most players, especially if they're playing with their friends, and have to coordinate that alongside the game. I think that there is also definitely an opportunity for the game to add some kind of voice feature. And another thing about discussion time, I'm actually not sure if it's an intentional feature or not, but the inability for you to undo once you voted. I feel like in a realistic setting, if you guys were voting off in terms of who gets to stay on the ship and who doesn't, you should have the ability to revoke your vote in case you, one, accidentally clicked on something, or you voted early and new evidence was brought up that changed your mind. I mean, there's just a lot of circumstances in which you need some kind of out. And I feel like the game not providing that adds a lot of room for error. And I mean, the number one rule, well, maybe not number one, but a very important rule in UX is to always give users an out, some way to escape, some way to undo. And yeah, that was my semi-brief analysis of the UX UI of Among Us. Alrighty, gonna pop these bad boys in the oven. Editing magic. The cookies have been... They're sliding off. Can I they've been made. So I don't know how to end this video, but I'm gonna go with, if you haven't voted, go vote right now, or no cookies for you. Even though you're not getting these cookies anyway, but you don't have to know that. Go vote, and I'll see y'all next week as people who voted.